Okay. So, yeah. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the International Council for Circular Economy. Today, we are all gathered for yet another webinar on an interesting topic. And this is our 9th webinar in the series, Transforming India's Infrastructure, where we had the opportunity to listen to the best of the industry, academia, and research practitioners on various tenets of circular economy, like closed-loop systems, role of technology, waste to value, climate change, social responsibility, importance of collaborations, policies promoting circularity, and consumption. Today, the topic of our discussion will be circular economy and global supply chains. How can we create circular supply chains and reduce waste through the value chain? This webinar series is designed to unite groundbreaking processes, ideas, solutions, and the widespread dissemination of knowledge. We are happy to conduct this series in collaboration with PM Gati Shakti Center of Excellence in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, School of Management, Doon University. A gentle reminder to all the participants to kindly keep their microphones and videos off and utilize the chat box for any communication. Now, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest speakers for today's discussion. Our first speaker is Mr. Chandan Trehan, Lead Digital Supply Chains and Logistics, Bosch USA. Chandan leads the digital supply chain and logistics service line for Bosch, where he is responsible to build sustainable, resilient, and efficient supply chain solutions, harnessing the power of digital. He's recognized as top 50 global thought leaders at Thinkers 360. His insights have been highlighted in prominent publications such as NASSCOM, DataQuest, Efficient Manufacturing, and Toolbox.com, where he explores the role of technology in addressing practical logistics and supply chain problems. The second speaker of the day is Mr. Vishal Chopra, consultant in data analytics, business intelligence, MIS reporting, a proficient Ivy League professional. Graduate with over 20 years of work experience in running successful method-oriented operations and taking initiatives for business excellence through process improvement. Strong analytical skills with deep expertise in the application of big data and analytics. Vishal provides consulting services leveraging data analytics and business intelligence to help his clients thrive in ever-evolving marketplace. His firm has served a diverse range of clients, including renowned companies like Coca-Cola, Inox Movies, World Economic Forum, Netflix, and Smiths & Wessons, among many others. He has offices in Mumbai, London, and Geneva. Next, we have Mr. Animesh Ghosh, researcher on energy transition, sustainable development, and public policy at Ashoka University. Mr. Animesh Ghosh is a senior research associate with the Ashoka Center for People-Centric Energy Transition of Ashoka University, and also currently doing his PhD in circular economy from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. His key associations have been around energy transition, rural development, gender budget analysis, innovation management, entrepreneurship development, circular economy diffusion and adoption research, and climate change research. Previously, he had worked with the Ministry of Women and Child Development, National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, District Plan of Action for Children, Government of India, and UN Women. He's also a Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow. Our last but not the least speaker of the day is Kim Hjerrild, Strategic Partnerships Lead Nordics, Circular Innovation Lab, Copenhagen, Denmark. Kim has been working with circular and green transition, both as civil servant and as a city councillor in Copenhagen, as a manager in the National Danish Cluster Organization for Fashion and Furniture, and as a partner in Circular Innovation Lab and board member in various organizations working in the field. His core competencies include green and circular strategy and business development, advisory related to ESG, CSRD, CO2 baselining, and other tools for reporting, risk management and compliance, digitalization, financial management, modeling, and public affairs. Thanks to all the speakers for being here today and taking out time from your busy schedules. Now, without any further ado, we shall be starting off with our conversation on circular economy and global supply chain. Thanks a lot, all the speakers. Now, my first question goes to Chandan. Chandan is here with us, and he has been closely associated with ICC from many, many years. And now he has, changed his base to USA. Earlier, he was in Bangalore. Chandan, thanks a lot for joining.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you. Thanks, Chandan. So, Chandan, my first question goes to you, and it is like, how do you see the role of, because you've been coming from Bosch Software Technologies, so how do you see the role of IT companies, especially those in the digital supply chain and logistics sector, in addressing and reducing the carbon footprint associated with global supply chains?
Thanks, Survi. I think a very interesting question, and I'll start answering this from the standpoint that the divide between a physical product and an IT or a software product is blurring by every minute as we speak. I'll try to answer this in three components if I divide the entire supply chain into the source, make, deliver model. On the sourcing side, we are seeing the impact of software technology coming in from how data and software is being used to create sustainable product design itself. We're calling it circularity-centric design. So how are we using technologies like artificial intelligence to come up with designs which are more sustainable from the environmental standpoint? We're also looking at solutions like AGI, and I was reading about this article a few days ago, how AGI is helping identify alternate materials that can be more sustainable, that are going to create lesser impact on the environment in the manufacturing process itself. So on the sourcing side, we are seeing the impact of IT and software coming in to a large extent. If I look at the entire ESG lens on the sourcing side, we are seeing the impact that software is creating in ensuring sustainable sourcing models, creating sustainable sourcing mechanisms, creating ethical sourcing mechanisms for organizations to look at. So that's one big impact that we are seeing on the software side. On the make side of the story, we are seeing how software is helping baseline the emission data or the carbon footprint data for the manufacturing process itself. It's going to start very strongly from setting up those baselines and then identifying opportunities to improve the overall manufacturing efficiencies. What I mean by that is making sure that you make more from less. And we also come from a manufacturing unit, and we try to focus a lot of our energies in reducing carbon emission in the manufacturing process itself, especially in the automotive sector. So that's one very strong area that software is helping, ensuring that level 0 to level 5 connectivity from the machines, understanding what has been the carbon footprint for the manufacturing, the emission data for the manufacturing, reducing your energy consumption. And not just energy, I'm talking about water, air, gas, steam, whatever else is used as an input in the manufacturing process. Looking at that and trying to reduce that kind of consumption is becoming absolutely important, something that software or IT technologies are very strongly helping in. On the distribution side, we are seeing how end-to-end supply chain visibility is becoming a very prominent topic. It's something the provenance or the supply chain transparency is essentially helping organizations reduce wastages in the supply chain, and thereafter reduce the total carbon footprint in the global supply chains as well. We are seeing how product lifetime usage is being tracked to identify the remaining useful life for the product, so that a corrective and a more responsible action can be taken on the product when it reaches its end of life, whether it is recycling, refurbishing, reusing, or remanufacturing. A more responsible action can be taken based on the product's usage during its lifetime, and that's something which has got a very strong data and an IT play in itself. Reducing carbon footprint in the distribution or the logistics process, including the last mile delivery, is something that's becoming very important. It could be as simple as identifying best or the most alternate route or more sustainable routes to deliver products to the end customers. It could be helping you not just to save the fuel, but also identifying the best utilization of your asset, and thereby reducing the total carbon footprint, especially when we're talking about scope 3 emissions in the larger scheme of things. So right from consolidating data from multiple ecosystem players to making sure that there is a platform where data sharing can more comfortably happen, we are seeing a very strong play that information technology and software technologies are playing as we speak today.
Thanks. Absolutely, Chandan. Absolutely right. You have shown us all the three aspects of, how circularity can be there in the digital processes, in the make processes, and the value chain as well, and in the entire value chain. Now, we have a speaker who's coming directly from the background of data analytics, business intelligence, and MIS reporting. So, Vishal, next of my question goes to you. So now, as you are coming from this background, how can the integration of these applications contribute to the creation of circular supply chains, and specifically in terms of waste reduction? Though Chandan has also, told us a few things about it, but I would want to know from your perspective, how, especially in terms of waste reduction and environmental impact, these technologies can help us.
Yeah, I think Chandan very clearly and beautifully explained also, how he's making use of data and it's helping him take better decisions uh, when it comes to ESG, lowering his carbon footprint or even reducing his wastages. So my so for me, I think it will revolve around the same thought. So first is that with data, your efficiency improves. You can better optimize on a lot of things. So with the help of numbers, whether it is historical data or at a lot of cases even real-time data, you are able to act on the insights. You are able to take immediate action, and you can minimize the unnecessary resource consumption that are coming your way. Second, I think what happens is a lot of time predictive analytics helps you a lot in taking proactive decisions when it comes to reducing wastages. So with the help of predictive analysis, you can easily have a good lead time as to what kind of things will happen in the immediate future, in the midterm future, or in the not so immediate future also. So you can plan your resources accordingly, which will impact on your immediate wastages, or it can at least help you in reducing your wastages. So the foresight becomes basically it allows you for the foresight for productive measures, minimizing overproduction, and also ensuring that these resources are getting utilized in the most efficient way. I think what also can be done is especially I think with the help of business intelligence. uh, Today, I think BI tools are playing a very pivotal role in creating in transparency within the supply chain. They provide you a comprehensive view of operations. They enable stakeholders to trace where the journey is of the product from the inception till the delivery. And this transparency is the cornerstone in identifying areas where wastages can be reduced and sustainable practices can be incorporated. I think even MIS plays a lot of role here because it goes hand in hand. When I say BI, I think the immediate extension for BI is MIS reporting, where a lot of management information systems over a period of time these have been improvised a lot. And nowadays, real-time monitoring allows you for immediate responses. As soon as you see a slight deviation, you can immediately respond to it, ensure that your supply chain remains agile and adaptable to changing circumstances. I think this is one of the key elements in waste reduction and sustainability efforts also. Lastly, I think one thing that will help with the help of data and applying your analytics at the core will be you are able to involve a sense of accountability. And at the same time, traceability it automatically comes into place because first of all, transparency fosters responsible practices. It ensures that all stakeholders are aligned. And then we can have this habit inculcated in them that the wastage has to be reduced, and at the same time, how environmental impacts can be mitigated.
Absolutely.
These kind of things, I think it makes very important for organizations to start working around if they have not already done so. So, of course, a lot of organizations have already taken the steps in this direction. But for even those who have not, now it's high time for them to start thinking on these lines.
Absolutely. Very good thought about transparency and accountability. that comes into action, and everybody, because with the data and the analysis that happens, reporting that happens, all data is available, and the proof is there, who's accountable for what. So proof is in front of everyone. So that's a very good point that you have raised,
Absolutely.
Vishal. Yeah. So nobody can back out that what you are doing is visible to everyone. So that ways it creates a tool for accountability as well. Definitely. Now, my next question to you, Animesh, is that given your expertise in energy transition, sustainable development, and public policy, how do you perceive the role of circular supply chains in achieving these objectives? And what potential benefits do you see for sustainable development through circular economy practices?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And so it has two parts to this question. So let me address the first part first. That is the role of circular supply chain in achieving energy transition. So if I look at the energy transition from the framework of, or rather with respect to the sustainability pillars, that is the social aspect, environmental aspect, and the economic aspect. So there's when it
You didn't get me?
considers. Hello, yeah, am I audible? Hello, Survi.
Animesh, you are audible.
Okay,
You are
great.
audible.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So yes, I was talking about these three pillars of sustainability, and with respect to that, let me talk about firstly the resource efficiency part, and how in energy transition, how that is connected to the economic development aspect. So when we consider about the economic development, we are trying to focus, or rather globally, what we can see is that like how to best use the existing resources. So to give you an example here, the with respect to resource efficiency, there is a lot of emphasis around how to extract the secondary materials, and how the secondary materials which is going to be used in, say, a clean energy transition, say for production of, say, solar panels, or windmill apparatus, and so forth, so on. How these materials can be extracted to the best extent possible, and that can be applied in production of this clean energy transition infrastructures, so that there is a focus around that. Now, if I talk about the social aspect of this circular supply chain, so there is a lot of focus around how to nudge and push people to adopt the clean energy aspects, so that to a great extent we can eliminate the CO2 emission, and we can reach out to zero emission pathway. And in order to do that, there are lots of government programs and policies that we can see in Indian context. Lots of subsidies around vehicles adoption. Then there are policies, government policies, where there is a focus on lots of subsidies to establish the businesses on the clean energy products. Now, the third element where I would like to touch here is the environmental aspects, where we can see a government efforts around how to best utilize the closed mines. The closed mines, I'm talking about the coal mines. The coal mines which were in use right now, there is a focus to repurpose these coal mines, and the infrastructures whichever is available. What are the strategies that can be best utilized for the people who have been residing around those locations? So what could be the strategies? So those things are worked out at this point of time. Now, coming to the second part of it, like potential benefits that can be obviously visible from the sustainable development through circular economic practices, is that Obviously, through is reduction of waste and maximizing resource efficiency and minimizing these environmental impacts. Overall, it's going to help the people as well as the planet. And most importantly, if we can adopt these resource efficiency pathways, then economically also the country as a whole is going to be benefited in multiple ways. Number one, the fiscal policy, or say like the cost or whatever a country like India is bearing at this point of time in order to import a lot of critical minerals, those things may be reduced, and subsequently it will have a trickling effect to each and every product that is related to clean energy, and the adoption will be far more easier. So yes, definitely there is a lot of like positive sides to it, and there are a few negative sides to this entire transition. So which includes at what pace a country like India should go so that we can accommodate everyone, and there will be, as we are calling it, just transition. So justice for all can be maintained. When justice for all is concerned, it includes the working class to the people who are also availing this facility. I think I will stop here. Thanks.
Thanks, Animesh, for touching upon the social aspect of it. And earlier with Chandan and Vishal, we have talked about technology, and you have touched upon the social aspect of it. Now, my next question goes to Kim, which is an extension of your conversation we just had. So, Kim, with the rising emphasis on local, consumption of local produce and the increasing globalization of supply chains, it's quite contradictory. Once on one side we say, use local products, and on the other hand we say, we are globalizing, you can use anything from anywhere. So how can circular economy principles be effectively integrated to balance these seemingly contradictory trends and minimize their environmental consequences?
Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for being here. I think what you're doing here at ICCE is very valuable, bringing together practitioners and researchers and policy representatives. I think that's very worthwhile, and it's all about what circular economy transition is. It's about collaboration. It's about increasing levels of partnerships. Coming to your question here, I think obviously this is a very big question. As the way I see it, the way we see it in Circular Innovation Lab, we are right now in kind of a waiting game. Production and consumption in the linear way is still too cheap in all sectors and markets. And so the circular alternative, when we talk about the real big the big picture, is still not competitive. But most of us also know that this cannot go on, that at some point the linear approach needs to become less attractive by pricing in the cost of externalities, of generating waste, of emitting carbon dioxide and degrading biosystems, not to talk about the social. So there is a awareness here. And talking from outposts here in Copenhagen, what we see is that in the fringes of the economy, at local level, we see quite a lot of things taking place. There are different reasons to this. One factor is definitely related to increased awareness of the possibilities and advantages of sourcing your materials closer by. It's about resilience. It's about making your value chain more controllable. Within textiles, for instance, we've seen Danish companies, move their production from China, from India, closer to the EU. Turkey, Portugal, even Italy has become, again, producing countries to Danish and other European brands. This is, of course, a challenge to Indian producers and producers in the global south, But that's what we see right now, because resilience, traceability, transparency has increasing value when we talk about global value chains. Another factor is that there are actually, among customers with buying power, an increasing belief that shopping, buying local produce is more healthy to yourself, it's more healthy to the planet, and it's better for the local community. So in these parts of the economy where people can actually afford to buy local produce, organic produce, they do so increasingly. This is also an interesting trend. So what I think is at stake here is that inherent in the circular economy way of thinking, there will be a tendency to direct sourcing and the whole service part of circular economy into more local and regional value creation. This has a lot of positive implications, but obviously we still also need global value chains. There's a lot of very complex technological projects that we cannot live without, that needs complex value chains. But I think we need to enter into an open discussion on how to best connect local and regional production and consumption with the global value chains. And well, one way of approaching this is definitely to work increasingly with extended producer responsibility, as has been mentioned already, that the big corporations spanning continents, they need to be, challenged to pay the externality cost of, having their very efficient, but also very often very monocultural value creation that is actually impacting local communities. They also need to diversify the way they do business in order to integrate more into local and regional communities. And I think that this is possible. It's overall a question of, this new market reality of increased regulation, of increased accountability, will at some point make circular solutions, circular business models more profitable. And then the big corporations will also acknowledge this and go into a more committing dialogue with local and regional communities and governments.
Thanks, Kim. Absolutely, for creating more resilient supply chains, the regional possibilities which are there, they have to be explored, but we cannot definitely deny the existence of global supply chains and how the needs and requirements of all the people around the globe, they are being fulfilled through these supply chains. Now, Kim, I have an audience, a question coming from Allison. She is actually talking about digital passport, product passports, and she would want to know your thoughts on it. Do you think it is as a solution available for all its stakeholders in small fashion brands, same as large brands as well? Alison, she has been on one of our webinars previously, and she works on RFID threads. So I think that's relating to that only, digital product passport. So she wants to know this from you.
This is a very relevant question, and it directs the question of how we help small and medium-sized companies, and there are lots of those within fashion, for instance, how we help them cope with these new demands. As the question points to, there will be demands and requirements of digital product passports coming from the EU. And my guess would be that this will also at some point, be the case in the US and throughout the world, because traceability and having data represented, describing products in a various number of ways will be at the key of securing resilient and circular value chains, as some of the previous speakers have also talked about. But it's also true that for small and medium-sized companies, setting up the whole data system, and not to talk about, really getting the data and the information right about all these aspects of their products will be a huge task and an investment. What I think we will see is that the EU and the national governments will increase their support programs for small and medium-sized companies. And I also think that a road forward is to actually establish national systems of securing digital passports, creating, for instance, national blockchain solutions that are easily accessible and that are cheap to subscribe to, and that will ensure the cheapest possible way of actually maintaining data about your products. And once these blockchain systems actually become truly international, that is, that when they can exchange data with your producers in India, for instance, Bangladesh, China, whatever, then all links of the value chain can actually input data into this blockchain. Then we'll have something that can actually create this traceability and accountability that we're all looking for to make the circular transition happen.
Thanks, Kim, for this answer. I hope, Alison, that answers your question. And yes, we did talk about traceability, tracking and traceability through these digital passports. So my next question is going to Chandan. Chandan, you have been working in the blockchain technology. So considering the potential of blockchain technology, how can digital supply chains leverage it to transition towards circularity, and specifically in terms of waste reduction and creating a more sustainable value chain?
Thanks, Survi. I think Kim very nicely captured the aspect of blockchain technology being used to ensure that there is adequate information capturing, information gathering that's happening from diverse stakeholders in the supply chain space. I'll probably start by, maybe deconstructing the technology blockchain itself. And I like to outright go and apologize for oversimplification of the technology as I speak here. But how I see this is blockchain technology is basically just a more democratized way of collecting and sharing information in the supply chain, or in general through networks. And that's one of the biggest and the most beautiful aspects of this technology. It moves the control of this data from one individual, one organization, one country, to basically everybody else who is a part of this network to own a piece of that. On the circularity front, like Kim and Alison, you mentioned about the product passport. I think, yes, we have already seen, especially in the case of batteries, we've seen how Global Battery Alliance has come up with the battery passport. We are having similar, alliances and similar passport models that are coming up, asset passport models that are coming up in US as well. And I'm sure very soon we are going to see that in India as a geography too. That's a very strong use case for a technology like blockchain to come in and help solve some of the most pressing challenges that we see in the industry today. Apart from that, I think one very key role that a technology like blockchain could play in is to promote the circular behavior in itself. We are talking about incentivizing people. We are talking about people pledging about products if these products come back as a part of the recycling program right at the time when the products are getting manufactured. So the token economics concept, or the token economics aspect of blockchain, can actually help solve some of these things to a very large extent. But when I say this, I would also like to approach this with a little bit of guarded optimism. I don't think blockchain or any one technology out there is a silver bullet to solve the circularity problem. So I by no means mean that, if we make massive investments in blockchain technology, we are going to have probably the most circular and the most efficient supply chains globally. But what it can possibly do is just enable the circularity a bit, help ease the adoption of circularity in general in the global supply chains too. On the waste reduction side, we've seen how end-of-life product management is a very critical aspect, and blockchain-based traceability programs or blockchain-based asset passport-based programs can actually help better track the products throughout its lifetime, identify the best and the most sustainable way of disposing of the product it's a bit of a misnomer when I say disposing, but best and the most optimal way of ensuring end of life management for that product is something that a technology like blockchain can help a lot, and that's one way we can reduce the waste significantly. On the sustainability side, especially on the scope 3 emission tracking, which requires the entire ecosystem to come together and talk about the total carbon footprint or the total emissions that we are looking at for any asset, right from the point where it gets manufactured to the point where it gets delivered to the point where it gets used throughout its lifetime and finally gets brought back on the system for one of the corrective actions to be taken. I think scope 3 emissions require a technology like blockchain to come in. It requires systems that allow information sharing between multiple stakeholders. And a technology like blockchain is going to just ease the information sharing systems between people. Purely again, if I go back to the ESG lens, I can look at how a technology like blockchain can help in ethical sourcing as well. If I could look at the entire spectrum of ESG, ethical sourcing, sustainable sourcing, I think very prominent roles for the blockchain as a technology to play there. But again, I'll leave it with the thought of approaching these kind of technology investments with a very guarded optimism. There's no silver bullet to solving circularity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just something that has come to my mind that, we are talking about greenwashing also a lot. So is it going to really help in that kind of a thing? I mean, to stop people doing this greenwashing thing, this blockchain technology, can it help really in this particular thing?
Survi, in its purest form, technology certainly can help do that. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's an immutable technology. Does not allow you to change data. So what has already been fed in, there is a right level of accountability that comes with it. So yes, it does, definitely help you solve that problem. But again, like any other system, if there are enough people in any ecosystem who want that system to fail, it will always fail. So it's like garbage in, garbage out. So if you literally put in incorrect information there, it's like garbage that's going to keep floating across in the network, and it's never going to be lost also. So yeah, like I said, it does solve the problem. As a blockchain purist, yes, people would say it can solve the problem, but if you look at it from the practical challenges, it may or may not.
Yeah, definitely. Practicality is actually different, and maybe it may promote the circular, behavior that you just mentioned. That it can definitely promote circular behavior. When you are talking about behavior and awareness aspect of it, I would want to take my next question to Vishal, where it is about.
Sorry to interrupt. Kim had a point to say. I think
Yeah,
he raised
I
his
would
hand.
just briefly mention a use case. Now we're talking about blockchain and how it actually can be put to use. We have a Danish shoe brand called Rock'n'Roll. They are making women's shoes in the kind of mid-level, up-level market, but they have really made a strong case of using blockchain so that their customers can track the whole travel of the skins, the hides they're using for the shoes, from exactly which field this cow was living on, all the way through the supply chain and the different processes it takes to actually manufacture the shoe. And I think it has become kind of a strong element of this particular brand's story that they are really working with transparency. Still, they're quite alone in this market, but I think that their success is demonstrating the power of transparency.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim, for your thoughts on it. Absolutely. If there is intention, if there is, there is one way of accountability. There are different technologies which are trying to give you a right track to move on. But as Chandan has rightly mentioned, that if you put in garbage, then we really can't help it. So my next question, as I was talking, that this comes to you, Vishal. So in your experience, we would want to know about the market behavior, the people, how they perceive it. In your experience, do you often encounter clients seeking assistance in optimizing their supply chain management systems to minimize waste and enhance environmental sustainability? And if it is, could you share a specific example or case study where your expertise in data data analytics and BI has successfully contributed to improving a company's supply chain sustainability?
Yeah, I think this question gives me just, I think the right example that I have for this would be one of my clients named Brownie Cottage. So, our journey with them started in 2016. And till this time, they are our retainer clients. And I think it is quite emblematic to say, we, we had a very powerful role of, so we could actually demonstrate a very powerful role of data analytics and business intelligence that can play in reshaping their supply chain sustainability. So, upon our engagement, so basically Brownie Cottage was grappling with, I would say, a big 48, 47% wastage in their supply chain. Uh, and this prompted them, this is after they recognized this as an issue, they sought our expertise to not only cut their cost, but more importantly, to align their operations with sustainable practices. So our team, conducted a thorough analysis using data analytical tools. We uncovered some inefficiencies, some bottlenecks across the supply chain. Of course, business intelligence were then employed, and we translated this data into actionable insights. So once we had these insights, we implemented strategic interventions to optimize production schedules, streamline their inventory management, and identifies and then we identified areas where resources were being underutilized. And I think here MIS also played a big role in monitoring where we are going. This allowed actually Brownie Cottage to adapt to some nice deviations. Uh, and I think this dynamic approach ensured that the supply chain was more responsive to changes in demand and the market conditions. I think within 3 months, 3.5 months, the wastages plummeted from 48% to an impressive 12%. This reduction, not only significantly improved their bottom line, obviously, but it also positioned them as a, very nice beacon of sustainability within their own industry. How they could, swiftly change it within a period of a quarter. I think these are the case studies which, and Brownie Cottage is not a huge organization. It's a mid-sized family-run kind of an organization with very limited resources. They have used their entire family funding to run their operations and to scale up to a level which they are today. So I think it's a very classic example how analytics can be used and to gather more insights and help them achieve the target that they have in their mind in terms of sustainability, in terms of making the supply chain more efficient.
Thanks, Vishal. So I'm sure, as being an Indian, it is, I think, inherent in us, in all of us, that, whatever resources you have, you use them optimally. Even in our households, we see our moms and grannies and everybody using and, making use of the old products. And so this is actually inherent in human, system. But then again, we are losing track. But yeah, if with the help of technologies and we can get back to track, I think that would be definitely a great thing to do. Now, as I talked about, Indian households and our nannies and grannies, I would want to go to Animesh. He has worked in rural areas on different government projects. So, Animesh, my next question to you is that circular supply chains often emphasize the importance of vocal for local. And how can we untap the potential of rural markets, especially to be integrated into urban supply chains to reduce the environmental impact? Because these are also very important stakeholders right from the grassroots levels. So are there some specific policies or strategies that you believe could facilitate the seamless connection between rural and urban markets, promoting sustainability in the process?
Yes, it is possible, and like there are lots of initiatives across country, in at least from the perspective of India, I can say. To give you the best example is like India being a paddy grown country. So if I look at one particular crop here, that is paddy, if we try to analyze that entire supply chain. So from sowing of the seed on the field by a farmer to the consumer who is, or say the person who is having rice at the end of the day, and the oil that is extracted from it. So if you look at the entire supply chain, then we will see that in a crop, or in a crop like paddy, there is nothing called waste. So it is one of the best examples of circular economy, which from a country like India we can come up with. Uh, so like, but there are multiple stages and stakeholders involved at each stage, and in order to get a seamless approach, what there has to be a lot of effort from the part of government, both central as well as state government is concerned. Therefore, small efforts like improving the MSMEs and providing them some sort of incentives, subsidies, engaging the self-help groups in the production process, and then giving MSPs to the farmers. Each and every policy decision has an impact in getting this entire cycle or closing this entire cycle. So the schemes, so some of the schemes such as schemes like PM Kushum at this point of time. So we need to integrate both the ends. One is like we have to provide sufficient facilities at the rural belt so that the farmers can uh, produce those components. Next level is how the next level, that is the middleman, can take these crops to the other section, that is meal owner. So there is a road is requirement. So road related schemes we are getting a lot of focus on that, Pradhan Mantri Sarak Yojana and all of those things. So this is how the each and every stage we can see there is a lot of effort in terms of our country is concerned. Now, this was an example of the rural belt. Now, if I from the perspective of food chain. Now, if I take one more example here, from the perspective of the say products like electronic products and so forth, so on. So we see that there are different stages in collection of such waste in the rural areas as well. We see there are kabadiwalas who are getting these products or collecting these products from the rural areas, taking it to the next level, that is maybe the district town level, and they are putting it there. They are segregating it, and then it is going to the next level. They at the city level where there is a recycling unit is there, and they are recovering the secondary materials and so forth, so on. So even for this transition, so there is a requirement of proper collection to proper segregation at each stage. There is a requirement of proper pay, as I was referring to in my previous question. Fair payment, fair, the just transition. All these words will remain a word until unless these sort of there is a focus on these sort of aspects as well. I can see there is a question, I think. You are not audible, should be?
I think there is an audience. He's just talking about the different businesses that you are talking about, rural businesses, which can be, promoted and incentivized. So he just wants to know about the bamboo business. I think he's into some bamboo
Yes,
business or something like that.
yes,
So
yes, absolutely. Bamboo is one more such resource, which at this point of time we can see a lot of usage, and it is not only used in the rural areas. At this point of time, you can see a lot of usage in the urban areas as well. It's giving that aesthetic value. It enhances that value. And there is something called mud block technology, which is imbibed with this bamboo technologies. And there is a lot of technical aspects to treatment of bamboo so that it stays for year after year. And obviously, as I said, like it is enhancing the beauty of that like infrastructure wherever that is put in. So yes, that is one of the rural connect that we can visualize at this point of time. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Animesh. So when you talk about bamboo, I think government is also giving a lot of push to these, these kind of products which are coming from the rural areas, and they are giving a lot of push because I've heard, I think Bangalore airport, if I'm not wrong, Chandan, Bangalore airport has been revamped to all the bamboo aesthetics are there, and it's wonderful to see that airport. I've seen in some Instagram posts also. Please tell me, Chandan, you must have known about Bangalore, I
Yes,
think.
it's actually the new terminal that we have got at Bangalore. We call
Yeah,
it
Terminal
Terminal 2.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of airport. It's definitely one of the most beautiful ones. Very sustainable. I think they've used a lot of bamboo there, as you suggested. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I
So,
think it's not just the Bangalore airport. I think a lot of the airports are now newly built in the past couple of years. They are focusing on the sustainability, whether it's Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. I don't know even if the newer ones. I haven't been to many of the cities now of late, but I think the government is working very aggressively on ensuring that airports are far more sustainable than what they used to be a couple of decades back.
definitely.
And
Thanks a lot.
yeah, one more city, that is Agartala, particularly Tripura, itself is running a big push for the sustainability, and bamboo is their core product where they are emphasizing on, and there are multiple investment around this resource bamboo.
Great, great. Good to know, glad. So now we have talked about this product, especially because of one of our audience who wanted to talk about bamboo. So now my next question comes to Kim. Kim, we have been talking about the different stakeholders in the supply chain, and that we should be taking care of right from the beginning of the supply chain at the grassroots level. What Animesh has just, conveyed, that they have to be incentivized in the right way. So the concept of circular supply chains aligns with the principles of sustainability. And how do you see the collaboration between the researchers? We are talking about on a macro level now. So the collaboration between researchers, policymakers, and businesses in advancing circular economy practices, and what specific policy interventions do you think would further promote sustainable development through circular supply chains globally?
Well, lean back, because here comes an extensive answer. This is a very important question also, I think. To start with answering the first part, I mean, a close or even closer collaboration between research, business, and politicians is vital, as I see it, in order to advance the circular economy. We still see a lot of obstacles in different areas to make this really become kind of the new way of doing business. So it's really also, when we talk about circularity as a way of achieving carbon neutrality and sustainability in a foreseeable future, we need to collaborate more and more intensively. To put it in one phrase, linear is simple. Our systems that we know of today have been optimized for the take, make, and waste approach for decades. So every step of the supply chain, in principle, are just minding their own business. This is where we come from. Circular thinking and practice is far more demanding, and especially when we think of it in at industrial scale, when we're talking about global supply and value chains that are typically very complex and often span 2 or 3 or more continents. So obviously, the whole thought of closing loops are extremely much more complex than linear. That's the obstacle we're trying to solve, using data, but also using other means. And I really much agree with Chandan that said the blockchain is a good thing. It's a good tool, but it doesn't save the day in itself. I think actually most importantly is the human factor, that the knowledge, the engagement, the skills, and the openness towards the potential in going from linear to circular business models. It's very important. It's about training ourselves to think in more holistic ways and to embrace the implications of a truly circular economy in terms of deeper partnerships, of building trust and long-term commitment. And I know these requirements are quite abstract, but I think from my experience working with circular value collaboration teams, that if you do not have trust and deep partnerships and long-term commitment, it is hard to really reap the benefits of circular thinking and of symbiosis thinking. In Denmark, we have a world-known industrial symbiosis called Kalundborg, and this has been underway for 3 decades now. And it would have been impossible to build this industrial success story without trust, without deep partnerships and long-term commitment. And this commitment is both at the level of the corporations collaborating, but also about governments making this symbiosis happen, planning for it to thrive and to grow. And I think the PMI initiatives on establishing new Indian textile hubs is a golden opportunity to think in these terms of deep partnerships, of building trust, of educating people to really developing these kinds of partnerships and commitments. I also, if time allows, have a couple of recommendations, because at Circular Innovation Lab, if there's anything we are focused on, it's actually about analyzing and writing reports about the very most important interventions that we can recommend the political level to undertake. And in my top 5 list, I have extended producer responsibility. That needs to be put in place in legislation as a cross-cutting principle in relevant pieces of legislation. It is when we begin to really address the costs that are still not paid from linear ways of production and consuming that we can begin to make a level playing field and make circular and sustainable practices more competitive. That's the one thing. EPR is extremely important. It's also an idea that is quite easy to do, to set up a national foresight capability that can monitor and assess trends and changes in the markets and supply lines that are most important to the specific country. And I actually am not sure if I know a country that really has done this in a very systematic way. I think the Netherlands, in Finland, perhaps they have something that comes close to really having a foresight capability, looking into the trends and changes in supply chains and in what is going on with critical materials and stuff like that. So setting up a foresight capability that can react quickly to changes in the markets. I think for India that would also be very interesting. When will the bamboo adventure really be something that you can scale up? I mean, this could be analyzed at a national level, and then being the basis of investments in that particular resource. I also think that all governments could have benefit from start mapping the national use of virgin materials and the access to critical raw materials and the level of circularity. You might have heard of these circularity gap reports stating that the world right now is 7.2% circular. But having your own national and even regional circularity gap reports will actually point to the critical materials and to the potential of going circular when we talk about critical materials. And lastly but not least, I think all national roadmaps should include training and support programs for small and medium-sized companies, both in order to help them prepare for these changes that I'm sure will come, but also to strengthen innovation, resilience, and local job creation. because the importance of a strong, dynamic ecosystem of small and medium-sized companies and startups can hardly be exaggerated. I think Denmark is one very strong case of that. Even though we're renowned for our big companies, 80% of our workforce is employed in small and medium-sized companies.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks. I think these are great recommendations. I think already the government is working on most of these points. In fact, this recommendation of national circularity gap, kind of a thing that every nation should do, that's a great recommendation, I think, for any nation that is taking up on the sustainability aspects and working on this area. Now, my next question, Chandan, comes to you. Now, you have been into these technologies and you are formulating strategies to minimize waste along the supply chain for your, the clients or manufacturing units. So now when we talk about technology, as we just spoke about that, whatever technologies are there, they are there, but unless and until you see the practical aspects of it, there could be failing or there could be different challenges that they are there. So what real-time challenges that you have encountered and how these challenges have shaped the implementation of circular practices? Please let us know.
Wow, where do I start from? There's a reason why we are still looking at a 7.2% circularity as we speak. The challenges are too many, but maybe I'll just try to summarize them into some 3 or 4 of the key ones that I think are the most relevant and the most pressing ones. I think over the last decade in general, we have had this mentality where we have designed products to a large extent in a way that they were designed for replacement. The extreme modularity, the modular manufacturing models that we spoke about, the products were designed to be replaced in case if something happens to fail in them. That mindset has to change. That's one of the biggest things that I think is a challenge as we speak today. We need to start looking at creating circular centric designs. We need to start in the manufacturing process. We need to start looking at creating products which are designed for circularity or designed for replacement, designed for recycling, designed for remanufacturing, and so on. So that one level of mindset change is something that definitely needs to come in. Other challenges, I think, and Kim also very briefly touched upon it, is about the resistance to change. It can be both internal as well as external. The human aspect of accepting, adopting change, I think that's also a very key challenge that we often see when it comes to running and managing circularity programs within organizations or even at a macro level. I think some of these changes or the resistance to the change can be managed through a technology, can be enabled through technology. We spoke about blockchain as one such technology that can be there. There could be some that could be managed through a circular business model where we spoke about incentivizing people. And then what I also believe is there are some challenges or some resistance to this change which has to be solved only by a change of mindset. As consumers, as businesses, we need to start taking more proactive measures. We need to change our mindset itself, that we need to be more sustainable. And trust me, it's not going to be a topic of if, it's going to be when and how, because very soon we are going to see businesses that are not sustainable are going to cease to exist in its entirety. Another big challenge that we have encountered at times is while investment in sustainability and circularity is a long-term game, it's important to create bite-sized investment plans, bite-sized investment opportunities within the organization and even at a macro level. It essentially means you need to have a proper roadmap created for your sustainability investments and your circularity investments. While you may start small, you may want to take small investments, small baby steps there, and you need to work on a model where you can land a success there and expand. You need to identify what are those low-hanging fruits, what are those best product lines that you may start with by building circularity, what are those product lines which have got the maximum impact that can be created in terms of circularity. You need to identify some of those and then go about doing that. And finally, on the adoption of technology, I think fortunately or unfortunately, at times we are overwhelmed with technology. These are all big words to talk about: blockchain, IoT, and some of these technologies that we typically talk about. Oftentimes, organizations get overwhelmed. And I'm just talking about software technologies now. There is a whole bunch of technologies that are being explored in the manufacturing process, in the recycling process, and so on. So sometimes it may seem that we are getting overwhelmed by technology. The answer here is we do not need to try and solve each and every problem by ourselves. There is enough technology help that is available out there in the industry. We should try to leverage as much as possible. We should be looking at platforms that can help support your organization to move towards sustainability, move towards circularity. We should not shy away from leveraging those platform tools, industry support, even if it is consulting support. We should not shy away from any of that. So I think, like I said, there's no list of challenges. It's a never-ending list, but there's some 3 or 4 prominent challenges that I believe could be encountered by a company that is embarking on its journey to circularity.
Thanks, Chandan. Thanks for your answers. Yeah, definitely when we are talking about challenges, I think the world is going through a phase where there are much, much bigger challenges which are coming in picture. Some geopolitical changes are coming in. So my next question is regarding that to Vishal. So Vishal, tell us about in the current business landscape marked by uncertainties, how can data analytics and business intelligence tools be utilized to ensure the resilience of supply chains, and what role do data-driven insights play in helping companies adapt and respond effectively in the unforeseen challenges?
Right. I think data analytics and in particularly predictive analytics, I would say, serve as a strategic compass in anticipating and preparing for uncertainties. By analyzing historical data and real-time data, organizations can identify potential disruptions that will enable them to take proactive measures that can be implemented before these challenges escalate. Also, I would say, BI tools can be used to contribute, how supply chain resilience can be provided by using real-time insights. So this would allow organizations to monitor their operations continuously, make swift adjustments in the response to unforeseen challenges. The agility that comes with real-time data is indispensable. So, especially when it comes to navigating the current scenario, especially these turbulent times or in the current business landscape. So dynamism has to be there, and I think analytics plays a big role in this. So that's it. That's more like it. What can also be added here is, a lot of times these insights that are backed by data, they empower the organizations to engage in a scenario planning. So a lot of time I personally often ask a lot of organizations, if they are using any kind of simulations with different kind of scenarios, where their business can develop a contingency plan which can ensure that they are well prepared for any range of potential challenges. So this particular strategic preparedness is, what will make an organization resilient to face certain uncertainties. Of course, BI can, like I said earlier, also, BI can also give you that kind of a transparency in the supply chain, where again, our organizations, then they can identify their vulnerabilities and weak points in their operations. It will help mitigate these challenges well in advance. So they can do those kind of exercises, put in that kind of an effort, and ensure that potential risks are being addressed before they can get escalated to any significant challenges. I'll just give you a very classic example. This just came to my mind. So when Netflix approached us, Netflix India, for their pricing analytics, so what Netflix very strongly, they not only predicted the viewers' preferences, but they were actively shaping their content strategy in real time. I think this proactive adaptation to market trends showcased, the power of analytics that Netflix was using in turning a lot of these uncertainties into opportunities. I think, this is how I think a lot of the new age companies or the organizations which are backed by a lot of visionary leaders behind them, they are adapting to a lot of these predictive things which are helping them mitigate or at least have their guards up on a lot of uncertainties and risks.
Thanks, Vishal. Yeah, absolutely. I think in such scenarios, be it at a national level or at an international level, I think the supply chains do get hit, but the most worst hit people, those who are there, are the ones those who are at the lower level of the supply chain. So here, my question comes to you, Animesh, about the people, those who are working at the grassroots level. So do you think that transitioning from a linear to circular supply chain would guarantee the well-being of all stakeholders, particularly those at grassroots level? So if we include circularity, do you think there will be a good impact on them?
Like, yeah, certainly there will be a good impact to one-liner answer to this, but whether all will be impacted by it, like the good part of it, so that there are lots of uncertainties around that. So to narrate here a story, not a story, rather fact here is that, like, if we look at the current trend, though there is a lot of restraint at this point of time. So we often saw that previously, like Western countries like Europe have transported their the second-hand goods or e-waste to countries of global south, and they have not only transported this to the global south. There has not been sufficient testing of those electronic goods at their level. So that means, like, a country, say maybe in Vietnam, or say a African nation, where the second hand product has gone, as you were referring to the last mile people. So when they have tried to use it with a little bit of refurbishing and all of that. So there has been examples that it could not be used for more than 3 to 4 months, or at max 6 months. So now here lies the concern. The first concern is that whether there was a possibility of testing it at European nation itself, and if that was found that okay, it is good enough, then only it could have been sent to the so for transport. That is number one. Number two, if there is no chance of recovery at that moment, then whether there is possibility of recycling, if that recycling facility is available at global south, any of these countries where this has been sent, and if that recycling facility is not available, whether the developed countries can facilitate such infrastructures in these countries, and the people who are handling this e-waste or any sort of this waste, so whether those people are being trained at this moment. So there are lots of implications to this, and at each and every state will ensure that to what extent the resources, which I think you was referring to the global gap report, where we are just 7.2 at this point of time. So if we can ensure proper facility even at the global southern countries, then to the best extent possible, there will be a lot of recovery of the secondary materials that will not only reduce the extraction of virgin materials, number one. Number two, the cost of every product is going to come down. Number three, whether it's a developed nation or a developing nation, if there is previous end only, there is an exchange of MOU, or there is an agreement to buyback of these secondary resources, then it makes the life of these developing nations a little bit easier. And in all these steps can secure this transition, or rather, it is going to help them to adopt that people-centric transition towards circular economy. And overall, obviously, the developing nation as well as developed nation, and the globally also, the people, planet, everywhere, there will be sustainability and sustenance.
Thanks, Animesh, for the answer. Yeah. I think there's some chat going on, and if anybody has any answer to these chat questions, you can easily answer on the chat box also. I would request the speakers, if you can, if your turn is not there to speak, you can answer them on chat to engage with the audience. So my next question is with Kim. Actually, Kim has already been engaging with our audience on the chat box, but Kim, I have one more question for you with us. And that's again, we are coming to the uncertainties and amid the ongoing geopolitical challenges, such as, there is Russia-Ukraine conflict happening, Red Sea attacks happening, and the Israel-Hamas war happening. So Europe is facing significant disruptions to global supply chains and anticipating even greater challenges ahead. How do countries affected by these events manage to maintain a focus on green transition and the development of resilient supply chains?
Well, that's a great question. I think the quick answer is they simply need to stay focused on the green transition. It's a mega trend. We all know that climate change is happening, and it will have huge consequences on biosystems, on supply chains, and in our societies as a whole. There's an increasing pressure also politically to do something, but also because these two things actually work together. With all the knowledge we have of the effects of climate change and biodiversity loss, and about supply chains becoming more fragile and critical materials becoming scarce, all governments realize that resilience is a must, and that goes also for the EU in particular, where critical raw materials is with the war in Ukraine is a new priority. Has been for some time, but now it's increasingly in focus, and it is, it is a case that major strategies in the green transition, which is building renewable energy systems and turning the economy circular, is also strategies that increases resilience and reduces geopolitical dependency on certain critical raw materials and fossil fuels, etc. So, I mean, the overall trend is not being, stopped by this, but that being said, the world is now spending billions of dollars for military purposes that we didn't thought of spending just 5 years ago. And these millions of dollars, they could have been, done to speeding up the green transition, and now instead they are actually spent on military, used in conflict, and conflicts, they do actually degrade biosystems in the regions that are hit by conflict. So yes, the sooner the better we can get on the other side of these conflicts, the better, obviously. But the underlying trend of working to achieve increased levels of resilience, of controllability, I think that will go on, and in some ways even be spurred on by the conflicts and the geopolitical uncertainty of our times.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, definitely. So we have covered almost many aspects of technology, how we can include more and more collaborations and human aspect, social aspect. We have covered almost many pointers here during our discussion. So here we are coming to an end to this discussion, and I would like to thank each one of you. It has been a great discussion. Chandan, Vishal, Animesh, and Kim, thanks a lot for coming and giving your time to us. Now, I would like to invite our esteemed guest, Dr. Sudhanshu Joshi, coordinator of the PM Gati Shakti Center of Excellence at the School of Management, Doon University, for the vote of thanks. Dr. Sudhanshu,
Thank you,
please.
Surabhi. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So as we bring this very insightful, I was listening from last 1.5 hours. It was really, thought-provoking webinar. So take it to the close, I extend my sincere gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Mr. Chandan, Vishal Chopra ji, Animesh, and Kim, for sharing their expertise on critical intersection of sustainability, circular supply chains, and ever-evolving landscape of global businesses. Their profound insights has provided us with a deep understanding of the challenges and opportunity in adopting circular practices within the supply chains. And I will also appreciate the contribution by ICCE in collaboration with our PM Gati Shakti Center of Excellence at Doon University for a seamless, arrangement of this particular session. And special thanks to you for excellent moderation. And when it comes to audience, so great, and thankful to all the audience for their participation and engaging questions as well. And it was an immense, great dialogue today. And lastly, I thank you all, the organizing committee and other members, the audience, the speakers, the panelists for this orchestrating, event. And together in days to come, we will all organize such a beautiful seminars in days to come, and with the same theme on circularity and infrastructure development. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Sudhanshu, for being
Thank you.
here with
Thank you
us
so much.
today. Yeah, thanks a lot. Anybody who would, any of the audience, you have been wonderful today. And if you have any queries or questions remaining, please write to me. Feel free to reach out to me at surabhi@icce.com, and stay connected with us on our social media pages for continuous updates on all forthcoming events. Please subscribe to our newsletter through the link shared there in the chat box. You can take that. And thank you once again for your active participation, and we look forward to engaging with you all in our future sessions as well. Do share the recorded video that we'll be posting after this webinar on our YouTube channel within your professional circles. You can find the recordings of all our webinars, previous webinars, on our YouTube channel. The link will be here in the chat box. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day and evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Surabhi, for being a wonderful host.
Thank
for
you.
having
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
Liz, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Surabhi. Hope to see
Thanks.
you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
everyone.
definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank Surabhi. you. Thank you, others.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. And by any chance, any of you are going to WCEF? Kim or Chandan or Vishal or Animesh, is any one of you going to WCEF
Probably,
this year?
I will. Yeah.
Plans are not finalized as yet. So a lot of things
Okay.
happening in the country it's also. So I'll have to align with a lot of priorities at the moment.
I see. Okay. In case you do, please let me know. In case you are going, we have some plans. So do let me know.
Okay. Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
Oh,
Would love to meet up.
Okay,
And
thank
also with your CEO, who I met in Delhi.
yeah, Shalini
Yes,
Bhalla,
yeah,
right.
got to see her again, and it's been some time. But
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me here. It's really been a
Thank
pleasure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Everybody.